We're live now, Chair, thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Chair.
Yes, okay. Welcome to Culture and Communities. Councillor Chris McIntyre speaking, Chair of Culture and Communities. Just like to remind everyone, if you've got a question or a comment, please go through the Chair. So we'll make a start. Item 1, any apologies for absence?
No, Chair, there were no apologies for absence.
Okay. Item 2, any declarations of interest? No. Okay. Item 3, can we agree minutes of the last meeting held on the 15th of October?
Agreed.
Great. Thank you. Item 4 was supposed to be prevent update, but we've had to defer this till the next meeting on the 10th of December. So we'll move on to item 5, final report. Can I bring you in on this, Scott?
Yes, certainly, Chair. It's the final report in front of members is about the community cohesion report that the panel's undertaken, or the review that they've undertaken. I thought it might be prudent not to go through it verbatim because the members have had this with the papers. I thought I'd go through it in a potted history kind of format in order to refresh members' memories of what was entailed. But the primary reason for going through the report today is to discuss potential recommendations and what we can take forward to the executive to submit to the executive. Before I start though, Chair, I think it'd be important to recognise that a great deal of credit needs to go to my colleague Susie Blunt, who started this review before me. I've kind of finished it off for her. So just to put that on the record for Susie. There were 4 terms of reference contained in the report, Chair, and they covered a number of issues concerning community cohesion. Just going through the report first, the background information provides the panel with almost the nuts and bolts and the background as to what the reason community cohesion and the work that we do to bolster and support community cohesion, why it looks the way it kind of does. And it goes back to 2001 and the Northern Town riots in Oldham and Burnley and Bradford, following which there was the Ted Cantle report, which identified that in certain areas at that time, communities were almost existing in completely separate areas. And there was a drive from that point on to try to break down the barriers within communities to try to achieve a larger degree of cohesiveness. From that report, a raft of work was done with the LGA providing a number of action guidelines for local councils to take up. And it's from that that this whole review is based, essentially. So the principles contained within the Cantle report of 2001, then the Pathfinder initiative in 2003, and the subsequent work from that kind of underpins the work that's contained in this report. Again, I won't go through this kind of line by line kind of basis. The members have had a chance to have a read of it. But for terms of reference A, the factors affecting community cohesion, as it says, there's a lot of factors that that kind of contribute to community cohesion. The best approach that we've adopted for this report is to identify the initiatives in the work that the council undertakes to develop, to bolster and support community cohesion. And when you appreciate those initiatives and the work that the council does, then it's almost kind of reverse engineering it. So you see the initiatives that we undertake, you can extrapolate both qualitatively and quantitatively the reasons that affect, or the factors that affect, community cohesion. Again, there is a lot of information, a lot of kind of detail in there that I won't go into. If there are any questions that members have, please, or any comments that members have, please do let me know at any stage. I'll be happy to either address them or make amends as required. For terms of reference B, there's an issue to bring to members' attention that the information that this is drawn from was a 2018 study undertaken by the University of Teesside, a very extensive one, a demographic the data mapping exercise. It's not attached to this report at this time because it is quite large. and I didn't want to overwhelm the report. There is an executive summary that's available. If any member wants a copy of that, I'm happy to share that, or to share the links as to where those are based. I don't repeat the detail of what's in those reports. It's more trying to understand the conclusions from that data mapping exercise. So as you can see, the main takeaways from this are that, as an example, the data mapping exercise found that non-UK born populations have increased in the town between 2011 and 2019 from 8% to 11%. And that's one example of what the data mapping exercise found. And I've split that in between the challenges that can be posed or can be extrapolated from that kind of data, but also the opportunities that kind of brings, so new skill bases, international students, those arrivals, being able to plug a skills gap in the town when none exist, for example. Having this kind of data is important because it allows the council to direct services in a smarter fashion. It allows services to be tailored to particular community needs and so forth. If we move on to terms of reference C, that's what partners are doing with the council, primarily in this case what Cleveland Police are doing. The update from Cleveland Police, which is included in the report, is that when the panel received evidence from both the police force and from the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner, there was the initiative to reintroduce neighbourhood policing and to have that in place by April 2020. Due to the COVID pandemic and the pressures that's put on the force, that's still going ahead, but it has slowed a little bit. The PCSO provision is kind of almost trying to backfill that until the vacancies for neighbourhood policing are successful. But that's the intention of the police is to continue the neighbourhood policing initiative. It's just because of COVID that's slowed somewhat. Again, I'm not going to go through all the detail in there. It goes through a lot of the information about our council kind of being the lead partner through the North East Migration Partnership and the various initiatives that are encountered through that. And finally, we go on to terms of reference D, which is where I picked up the gauntlet for this report, and we received information about locality working from a place-based approach. Again, it's ongoing. It has slowed a little bit, but the intention kind of being that we move council services into the relevant areas so that services can be targeted and tailored to the needs of a particular community. Are there any questions from the panel on any of those terms of references or from the conclusions that are in the report? Sorry, Trace, through you, do you want me to call on members or?
Sorry, I'm having problems unmuting. Yeah, is there any questions anyone would like to ask, please? Who's first? Let me have a look. Was it you, Linda, first? Yeah, Councillor.
It's Janet first. Councillor Thompson.
Councillor Thompson. Okay, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask? It says that we've got funding for the Pathfinder programme. How long was that funding for? How many years did that cover?
I'm unsure at this moment, Councillor. I can get that information for you, but Pathfinder was quite a while ago. Pathfinder was 2003-04. So the funding for Pathfinder probably would have expired the early part of the 2000s. But I can find that information for you. I can get back to you.
Thank you.
Can I come in now?
Yes.
There's no mention of the JAGS Joint Action Group meetings. These were held with responsible authorities, etc. And I'm aware that Prevent are coming to the next meeting, so maybe we can have an update from the joint action groups. Is that possible?
We could explore that. Yeah, there's no problems with exploring the an update from the JAGs. They weren't included in the evidence sessions that we've had so far on this. That's not to say they don't do a great deal of work for community cohesion. It's just that we haven't received information pertaining to their work in this report. what I could do, I could have a look to see if there's any information I can get about the work and try to insert it into the relevant terms of reference, or like you say, Councillor Lewis, if you wanted to, we could get an update on the 10th of December if you wanted to. I could try that.
It would be useful to get the update because we
Okay.
need to move way forward with the JAGs as well, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions? I can't see anyone waiting to question. Okay.
Take up a statement on the report. Is that okay? Can I make a statement?
Yes, make a statement, please.
I thought it was a very comprehensive report. To congratulate the officers of the council for research and compiling this report, and I'm sure members would agree with me. Thank you.
I totally agree, and I'm sure all the panel does.
Chair, just before, Chair,
it
is time if the panel want to try and discuss any terms of reference for the report. I've got some ideas, a framework almost, about what the members could approach as in terms of recommendations. If any of the members have any recommendations they want to discuss from the report, then that would be an ideal opportunity. Alternatively, I do have a framework of kind of ideas that, if you will, I can float with the panel if that helps. It depends what the panel want to do on how they want to move forward.
Chair, can I just say I'd like to suggest that we have regular updates on locality working. Is that okay?
Certainly.
Chair, I think Councillor Saunders would like to ask a question.
Right, I'm just struggling with the laptop at the moment. Okay, yeah. Councillor Saunders, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just a question regarding the prevent update. Is there a reason why they weren't needed to do all that?
It's just unforeseen circumstances. It was a conflict in the calendars. It's a logistical problem at Councillor Saunders, but they will be coming to the 10th of December.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Scott. Thank you.
Oh, dear me. So is there any further questions, or can we move on?
Would you like me to provide some of the recommendations that I had in mind for the panel to see if they agree with them, Chair?
Yes, please. Yeah, do that, Scott.
For the panel's consideration, I won't go through with in detail, but one of the recommendations could be for the development of a community cohesion strategy for the town. The strategy should ensure that all aspects of community cohesion work is coordinated and be monitored through the council's existing performance framework, and they should try to ensure that any resulting strategy should inform the council's existing regeneration agenda. And I've put a kind of a tentative timeline of it should be in place by the end of the financial year 22-23. I don't know if the members find that acceptable or not, or I mean, again, I think through you, Chair, any suggestions that I put forward here, I think that what we can do, if the members and the panel are in agreement, I can take these away to finalise them and to circulate them to the panel outside of the meeting in order for those recommendations to be signed off virtually, as it were, so that it can go to the next OSB meeting so the report can be finalised from there. I think Councillor Arundel wants to have a question, Chair.
Yeah, through you, Chair. I'd just like to say, although the time for that seems to be quite long, I think it's right because we have to take into account this COVID situation. When none of us know how long this is going to drag on, and it makes it extremely difficult for people to get together and thrash things out. So I would go along with that.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, sorry, Chair. Are you okay for me to continue, Chair?
Anything more to add, Scott? By all means, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Just another recommendation or an idea for a recommendation could be that due to uncertainty that's prevailing in a lot of different communities due to the COVID pandemic. And that, as a report states, there's a discontinuation of the funding that we've received for key projects. And due to recent staff changes, it may be wise for the council to consider ensuring that the current strategic cohesion and migration manager is supported through a robust staffing structure. Now, how that formulates and how that is presented, I don't know, but that could be a recommendation as well, or a recommendation along those lines to ensure that community cohesion, given its importance and continuing work, is supported through an effective staff structure. Would the panel be agreeable to a recommendation of that nature?
I would agree with that, Scott.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think it makes sense.
Okie dokie, and thank you, Chair, and also that the executive strongly consider including Middlesbrough in the refugee resettlement scheme, which is included in the report. Although we're not a member at the moment, there is already discussions to include the council in that scheme. If the panel are in agreement with a recommendation of that nature as well, we could submit that to the executive. That's all right through you, Chair. That seems to be accepted.
It's fine with me, Scott.
Thank you, Councillor. And finally, just kind of leading in from Councillor Lewis's input before, we get a regular update or a year hence, essentially, certainly with locality working based on it's such an important initiative that it has been stalled because of COVID. If a year hence we get an update from the Stronger Communities team on how that's progressing, would that be okay?
Yeah, I would like.
I think that, yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like to see that too, Scott. I think it's a good idea what Councillor Lewis was suggesting.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Chair. I can work those up into the final wording for the panel if you wish, and I can circulate those via email to panel members for their final approval to be integrated into the report. And when I've got the panel's approval for that, I can submit that for the next OSB meeting for their consideration as well, if that's acceptable, Chair.
That's excellent, Scott. Yeah, by all means. If there's no further questions, I think we've covered items 6 and 7. So we'll go on to item 8, which is the summary of OSB, the last OSB,
Chair,
which was on the 5th. Yeah,
Chair,
yeah.
I'm really sorry to interrupt, but the next agenda item 7 is the terms of reference for our next review. So it's
right.
a separate item. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go to that one then, Scott, and
right?
if I can bring you in on that.
That's fine, Chair. I'm going to share my screen with everybody. I haven't circulated these as part of the paperwork because they are just my thoughts. They're not really a formulated thing, but I'm going to share my screen. If you bear with me a second, councillors. If people, when this starts to share, if someone could just give me a shout out to say that they can see it. It should start to share through in a minute.
Can see it now.
Yeah, we can see it, Scott.
Oh, lovely. I'm glad you can. I can't. Give it a second. All right, okay.
See a black screen.
Have you got a black screen?
Black screen.
2 seconds. I'll fix it.
That's what I can't see.
A black screen is what we've got.
Right. Give me 2 seconds, everybody. I'll fix it. I promise.
You'll have to put the lights on, Scott.
Yeah, I haven't paid my bill. Yeah. Right. Okay.
That's it.
Is that there? Right. Okay.
Can we make it bigger?
Yeah. Give me 2 seconds.
Otherwise, it's a glasses on glasses moment.
Glasses on glasses, eh? So
Yeah.
you won't be able to see the whole screen. I'll scroll up and down a little bit. I'll do my best to keep everybody informed with everything that's on this sheet. Essentially, based on what Richard Horniman told us last time about cultural events, how they're delivered, what their impact is, I've drawn up some prospective terms of reference for the panel's consideration. themed largely around social and economic impacts that cultural events might have. So in the first terms of reference, we could potentially use examples of best practice to learn how cultural events are delivered in Middlesbrough and how they contribute to wider social regeneration initiatives. So for that, we could invite the events team to discuss how the council currently handle events, but not only how they hold events, how they take the themes and the messages of those events out into the wider community. So the outreach programs that they have to try to assess what impact the current ways of delivering events have and what they currently try to achieve. We could also try to invite representatives from successful events like the Mela, from the Naga Curtain and from the Orange Pip to discuss how they're operating, what challenges they face, how they could grow, and what the impact they see of these events having on the town and other initiatives and the wider economic impact they could have going forward. As part of terms of reference A, we could also talk about the idea of cultural communities. I think it's important that, taken as a set of terms of reference in this review, what we could see is a continuation of the report that we've just considered, really, because the report that we've just read is about community cohesion from not an enforcement perspective, that's a wrong word, but from a community's perspective, from a top-down approach almost, whereas this review has the potential to explore community cohesion from the bottom up. So how cultural events can bring communities all together and how we can kind of come together, not only by being told what to do, etc., but by a celebration of the differences we have to show how we're more united than ever, really. And I think terms of reference A could be how we do things now, what are we good at, and how can they grow? The second terms of reference, or prospective terms of reference, subject to the panel's agreement, would be to explore future formats of cultural events. And we were talking last time with Richard Horniman about, because of COVID-19 and the social restrictions that are in place, would cultural events have to change to suit that kind of eventuality? So even when COVID kind of goes away or is not as important as it is today, we don't know when that's going to happen, but would we have to future-proof our cultural base to cater for any eventuality like a global pandemic where people can't get together in the same place? And for that, I think it's important for the panel to consider that not only do we examine the events that we do at the moment to see if they can change their formats, but think completely differently as well. And Richard kind of mentioned e-gaming, so we could get the representatives from the British E-Gaming Association in, something totally left field that we haven't really done before on any large scale, to see how they've done things in other parts of the country, what kind of requirements they would need, what kind of impact it has. That kind of evidence could tie in with other projects like the Boho initiatives and the drive to get other digital initiatives into the town. We could also invite people from the BBC to explain how large-scale successful events had an impact and what was required to hold them. So I'm thinking the BBC for the Radio 1 Big Weekend there. And again, through terms of reference...
Scott, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I think it could widen our audience, and that can only be a good thing. Absolutely,
I agree. I think that anything we can do to think about how to widen audience participation, because if you broaden the participation of the audience, then you attract by default more people from a more kind of diverse background as well. So I think if the panel can see a much broader aspect and really try to think about an event isn't just about stalls and like a one weekend thing. An event should try to attract as diverse a range of people as possible, but also have the impact that's not just economic, which is important, but it also has, it's a cultural impact as well. And that it's the cultural impact that can take a long time to deliver and to be realized. But I think it's worthwhile that we get some information about that to see how we could achieve it, I think. And going down finally to terms of reference C.
Can I just come in there, Scott? I think
Certainly.
also to involve Middlesbrough Football Club.
Yeah.
I know they've held events at the Riverside
Yes.
Stadium.
Absolutely.
That was there, so that's, big engagement with Middlesbrough Football.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we engage with them at the moment for their events that they hold, like the Stadia kind of music events. So we do that, but there's no harm in engaging with them to see if they have plans to deliver events in any way, or they could offer up space that they have, obviously being a large venue, both on the pitch and in the offices and the entertainment spaces. They may be able to partner with us in some way. Yes, it's a good idea. I'll talk to MFC to see if they're prepared to come along. Terms of reference C. It's more how cultural events can contribute to wider economic initiatives in the town. We talked about this last time. I know Councillor Saunders is here from the EDEI. Is that right, Councillor Saunders? I'll never get that name right. I never will. The EDEI scrutiny panel about how cultural events contribute to wider economic initiatives. And I think that for our panel, for the Culture and Communities panel, I think there's real scope, although we'd have to discuss the detail of how we would work this out and to make sure that we weren't kind of not tripping over each other as such, but to make sure that we weren't replicating effort. I think there's a real scope here for a couple of panels to join up and really do some joined up working, really. I think that the culture and communities aspect feeds into, again, the cultural dynamic of what a cultural event could bring and bringing people together in whichever format that might be. But the knock-on effect will be...
Sorry.
Well,
I can see in my mind's eye, we could have some of these cultural events. Some of it could be spread around the town centre.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the kind of idea of a different format, isn't it? So instead of an event being clustered in one particular area of the town, like Richard was explaining, there are plans and there are kind of thoughts at this point to understand how events could be changed to spread the load, as it were, to go around the town. So, and by doing that, you not only attract the same people again and again. If you go out to the other communities in the town, you can target a different kind of community as well. I think that would be worthwhile. So I think that those are the three ideas or the general areas that I had in mind. It's open to the panel, Chair, if there's any other significant contributions or if anyone's got any other ideas for terms of reference for our next panel, the next review. I think, Chair, through you, if need be, what we can do is have ideas at this meeting. We can still invite people to come to the 10th of December meeting. We can still begin the evidence gathering process, and we can agree the terms of reference at the next meeting as well. We don't have to decide. We don't have to put like the nuts and bolts on this today. We just have to have ideas today. I can go away and kind of have the discussions I need to and formulate and articulate the terms of reference, and then come back on the 10th of December. That won't impact on the key lines of inquiry and starting the investigation off. That makes sense.
I'm in agreement with that.
Check, I was coming on. Scott's just been talking about, and that's the economic effect of cultural events. Can I just give two examples that happen in this area? Not that we can replicate them, but to keep them in mind. And one is the Tall Ships event that happens at Hartlepool. And that attracts huge amounts of people to the town. And the air show at Sunderland. Two events which are big draws and bring economic benefit to the town. We can't replicate them, but it's something as an example of what cultural events can do to improve the economic advantage of the town. Thank you.
Can I come in on the back of that? When Richard came and gave his presentation, I remember he said that the Mila was a great success in Middlesbrough. And I would like to see it go from strength to strength. And I think there are some positives in this. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that. Yeah, what I appreciate was that Mila have things ongoing through the year. It's not just the one big event that we, experience, which was useful to know. Okay, is there any further questions?
Yes, I agree with Scott. I think we should agree this at the next meeting.
Yeah, it gives us the chance to look over it and, sort of put our thoughts and ideas into it as well. So, yeah, I totally agree with Scott. Next meeting.
That's fine, Chair. I'll prepare the terms of reference in preparation for the 10th of December's meeting.
Can I just come in as well? I think if when we go away from this meeting, if we come up with any more ideas, I'm sure we can email you then to put on discussion at the next meeting.
That would be greatly appreciated, Councillor. Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for that. Any further questions or comments? Okay. Well, thanks once again, Scott, for all your input. Much appreciated. What we'll do now then, we'll move on to item 8, which is a summary of the OSB, which was held on the 5th of November. I'll just go through a few main points. The Chief Executive and Director of Public Health updated us on the Council response to COVID. The Deputy Mayor updated us on the progress made on children's social care. The final report was made for children and young people's learning scrutiny panel, and specifically the impact of poverty on learning. And the scrutiny chairs gave us an update. That's about it. Okay, so let's have a look. If we move on to item 8, any other urgent business? I can't see any. Okay. So therefore, I would like to bring. Yeah.
Chair, if we just interrupt there for a second, just if it's okay, under any other items, there is members may be aware that there's several scrutiny training sessions that have been circulated to members. I don't know if members are able to attend those training sessions, but I think they'll be extremely beneficial for everybody, both officers and members, to attend. If anyone wants me to circulate the dates for those, I'm happy to do so.
I would agree with Scott. Yeah, I think it's imperative that people, particularly chairs, go along to this training.
I've already accepted them.
Yeah, I agree that they are important. That we need to attend. Can I just go back over? I'm sorry, I wasn't quick enough. When I mentioned other venues and that the Mila do, are these the year? Because I'm not aware of it. Can we be made aware of when these things are happening? See, I think of the Mila as the one weekend. I don't know about the other things. But where are they advertised? Could we be given advice on to where to look to find out these things?
Yeah,
we can certainly ask that question through you, Chair. We can certainly ask that question, Councillor Dodds. When the service area come to the 10th of December meeting, we can pose those questions. And if it's something that isn't that well publicised at the moment, one of the recommendations or one of the things we, as a panel, you could say is it needs to be better publicised, really.
Yeah, I think a lot of things aren't publicised enough for people to hear about them. If we could get the word out there, like Lisa says, we could go to the wider community and we would get more support. Thank you.
Can I just say that it's advertised in the Love Middlesbrough magazine that comes out monthly. They always have forthcoming events advertised within that. And that's to every house in Middlesbrough.
Can I just say that, Janet? It's quarterly, the magazine.
All right, sorry.
Doesn't give everything. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks for that. So if there's no other urgent items, I would just like to bring the meeting to a close. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Much appreciated.